guys, welcome back to Money IQ. For those of you who are new and those of you who are awesome and keep watching, my name is Toyosi. As you may know, we're two glorious behind the scenes doing the editing. But yeah, thank you for joining us, and I'm excited about today's topic. Today we want to cover savings as part of our, continuation of our series of setting financial goals. I know it might seem a little bit late in the year, but you know what? There is never a good time to start saving. So I am excited about this topic. I know last time I said budgeting was my favorite, but actually savings is my favorite. So I'm excited to share. I'm excited to give practical tips, and I hope that at the end of this video, you feel empowered to make better decision about your savings, whether you should or shouldn't be saving, and how to think about saving in general. If you have great saving tips, please comment below. Before we go, remember, make sure you're subscribing, liking, and sharing our video. And yeah, looking forward to all your comments. So let's get into today. So I guess I'm going to start this series with a little story about my personal experience on savings. So I remember a few years back, myself and my siblings came for a holiday, and our mom gave us stipend for spending. And so of course we all went out. We're in the UK, it's winter. Oh, it was Christmas, it was Boxing Day sales as well. I mean, we went all out. And then our mom called us into the room and basically told us off as to why we spent all the money. But I kind of took it to heart because I felt like I got insulted a bit more, and there was a challenge of, oh, you had a part-time job in uni, you finished uni now, how come you don't have anything to show for it? Because yeah, I really didn't have anything to show for it. And I think for me, that started a whole chain of events for me, where I started to think about my money management and why am I so broke yet so rich? You have so much money coming in, yet you don't have anything to show for it. And I think that's a good point to start, right? Because oftentimes, and I hope at the end of this video, we can all start to think this way. Say for example, I earn £10,000 and I'm saving £100 a month. Is that really a good decision? Do you understand? So today, we're not only going to cover how to save better, but we're also going to look at, are you saving right? Are you actually being a good steward of your money, which is one of the goals of us being here. We want you to be a better steward, and we want you to also challenge us to be a better steward of our money. What is savings? So I guess you can define saving as setting money aside for a set goal and for a set purpose. Whether the purpose is to buy a house or to just make sure you have something in case of an emergency. That's how I would define savings. So we're going to try and cover a few things, like types of savings you have and how to practically think and work towards your saving goals. One thing we always mention on this channel, context. You need to always think about your own particular situation before you make a decision on savings or not. Now, if you haven't watched that video on budgeting, I would recommend you please go back and watch the video, because to have a good saving plan, you need to have a good budget. Oftentimes, when you speak to people about saving, and I can share from personal experience, rule number one, if you take money from your savings, you would never repay back. That's actually the truth. So don't go about saying, oh, I'm going to borrow myself money from here and pay back. No. Which is why I advise and recommend going back to the budgeting video, because you need to set realistic goal for your saving. Remember, even our financial goal video, you need to set a smart plan. If you keep dipping in and out of savings, you need to check it. And this is why this video is here. So let's talk about the types of savings you have before we talk about the practicalities and ways in which you should be thinking about saving. So the first one I will talk about is your emergency fund. General rule of thumb, and I agree with it, is your emergency fund should be 3 months of your expense, because we generally believe that if you lose a job in in good circumstances, of course not in COVID period, you should be able to find a new job in 3 months. So you should have 3 months of your expense saved up as your emergency fund. That's how I would think about it. Your emergency fund, often interchange with short-term fund, could also have a small surplus to cover any emergency. Okay, so generally I would say your emergency fund should have 3 months of your income saved in case you lose a job or there's an accident or anything. Of course, you might not always be able to achieve 3 months of your expense. Again, how do you know 3 months of your expense? Go back to the budgeting video so that you can carefully articulate and calculate every money that needs to go out. Now, before I go on, let's stop and talk about the reality of life. The thing about savings and saving goal as a year goal is 99% of the time you're not going to achieve your goal. So say you want to save 10,000 in a year. Yeah, 99% of the time you're not going to cover that. Why? Because things happen. Things really, really happen. So don't beat yourself up. I would say the most important thing is you are setting a goal and working towards that goal, and at least you can achieve, let's say, over 80% of that goal. Now, your short-term fund would be you saving for something in the nearest future. So 1 year. So you're trying to buy a car in the next 1 year. Then you can put money into your short-term fund for that. Or you're looking to go on holiday. For example, one of my friends is getting married this year. So money is going into a short-term fund to make sure I have everything covered, flights, makeup, wedding, bridesmaid's dress for that. That's what your short-term fund is. And your last one would be your long-term fund, which could be saving towards a house, towards a marriage or wedding ceremony or things like that, or a big project that you have ongoing, usually something that is over a year. So that's how we think about it. Now, there isn't a set proportion of how much you should save in each, and there isn't a set rule that says you should have all three. Again, it depends on your personal financial situation. So let me start with this. If you're in debt, you don't need to save. Your goal should be clear your debt. Now, if you've cleared your debt and you have some allowance for savings after you've gone through your budgeting in fine-tooth comb, then you can start saving. Your goal is to build your emergency fund. Having an emergency fund helps you not to be too frazzled, is what I found. So, for example, your car breaks down, rather than, oh, am I going to get money? Actually, having an emergency fund, a short-term fund, just makes you take some money in and cover it. It doesn't mean it doesn't still hurt or stab you in the chest as the money is going out, but actually it just provides you, some sort of serenity and some peace of mind that, you've got something saved up to help. So I think the most important savings fund you should actually have is your emergency fund if you don't have a long-term fund. So that would be my tip regarding that, and that would be my way of thinking about the types of savings that you should have. So let's talk about the practicality of savings. How can you be more intentional about your savings? Let's get to it. So again, I mentioned earlier, there isn't a set rule for savings, right? You just have to look at your income and expense and think about what works for you. You can afford to save more, do it. If you can only save less, do it. Again, at different seasons in your life as well, I think that's important to mention. You will be able to save and you won't be able to save. So let's talk about the seasons of life, because you need to have that at the back of your mind actually when saving. So let me tell you this. If you have a massive life-changing event, getting a new place, house or rent, changing a job, moving to a new country, you're not going to be able to save for the first 6 months. Again, trust me, you can take me on that. Now, me telling you this means that now that you know, you'll probably be able to cut the timeline to 3 months. So I would say if you do any big life-changing event, even getting married, you won't be able to save for the first 3 to 6 months. So always have that at the back of your mind. And I've also mentioned in the beginning, most times, 99% of the time, you're not going to achieve your savings goal. It is not to discourage you from savings though. It is just to let you know that things happen. But actually, you know how you can achieve your saving goal? Have a good emergency fund. Then at least maybe your saving goal will be your short term and your long term goal. But I guess that's what I'm trying to say, right? So if you say cumulatively, I want to save £10,000, including your emergency, short term and long term. If something happens and you take out of your emergency, that kind of kills it, right? So That's the thing about savings, because we just live in a world where things are unpredictable. Things just happen. So, you know, that's part of having a realistic saving goal. Sometimes it's not always possible. So remember, any big changing events, forget about savings. It is also harder to save during Christmas. That's one thing to have. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying it is harder. But you can work towards it to make sure you are able to save. So, say for example, you generally find Christmas a lot more expensive. Why don't you make Christmas your short-term fund, right? So that you are well prepared for that time. Now and then it is not impossible to save, or you don't have to fall into debt in Christmas. So that's one way I'll think about it. Again, that's why budgeting is key. And I'm not sure, if you remember the budgeting video, it is important that you're not just setting a budget for 1 month. It is recommended try and have a year outlook. Of course, we don't know tomorrow, but still try and have a year outlook so you can see where you can pull things and move things around. Okay, so there are peak and troughs throughout the year of when you can save and when you cannot save. So be mindful of that so you don't get discouraged. Again, golden rule of saving: try and avoid borrowing from your saving and dipping in and out. But that can only happen if you're setting a realistic saving goal. So if today you're finding that you have to go back into your savings, I think that's a strong indication that you're not saving the right amount. So you should stop, take a check, review your income and expense, and make sure you're putting the right amount in, because you will never put back the money you borrow from your saving. Forget it. It's just a lie. You wouldn't. So don't do it. Okay, just make sure you're putting the right amount in. If you are a disciplined person, if this is not your first time saving, if you're strong in the game, make sure you take your savings out first. But if you're a newbie and you need some help in terms of accountability, you can either set up a direct debit for your savings so that as soon as your income comes in, the saving goes out, or try and find an accountability partner to basically help you put the money aside and keep you honest about your savings. And generally, what your accountability partner can do for you also is to make you justify why you need to take the money out. I mean, no one wants to be explaining to someone why I need my money. So that can also help you. Again, that's going to push you to make sure you're setting realistic saving goals. So I hope those tips are really helpful. Remember, your saving isn't an afterthought. It should be seen as an expense and should come out as soon as your income comes in. Also, there are peak and troughs throughout the year. Just be aware of that and be ready for it. And that's what your emergency fund would do. Even forget peaks and troughs, things happen. So you have to be ready for that. So make sure you have a healthy emergency fund to help you. Also, 99% of the time, you're not going to achieve your saving goals, and that is okay. It is okay to just have that realistic expectation at the back of your mind and work towards achieving what you can achieve. And I would say, make sure you actually have different savings for different things. I wouldn't recommend putting all your savings together, because the thing is, once you start dipping in, you will get discouraged. It's just human nature. So, separate your emergency fund from your long-term fund. Another practical tip about saving is make sure it's an account that you can just dip in and out. Now, inaccessible doesn't mean there's a penalty for taking it out. So just be mindful. I would say you can put your long-term in a fixed account. A lot of banks offer fixed rates. But actually, one tip to note: with Brexit and bank rates coming down, hopefully we don't reach a negative interest rate. You have to be mindful and read terms and conditions of savings accounts, because if we go into a negative interest rate, there is a potential that you will be charged for savings if your saving is about a certain amount of money. But we're not there yet. If we ever get there, make sure you are reading terms and conditions of your savings account. And so make sure you put your money, emergency, short-term, long-term, in a place that you cannot easily access it. Get a separate account, don't download the app, things like that. Just practical tips to help you save better. I hope you found those really useful. Let me know your thoughts. If there are other practical things you do to be a better saver, let me know. Let us know what you learned from this particular episode. It's always good to hear your thoughts and things like that. So give us feedback. we'll always like to come back, if we need to do more, talk about things a bit more. Maybe you have a specific question that can help someone else. We are at the Money IQ on Instagram. Make sure you're following us, drop us a DM and we can tackle some of your questions. I hope with this video you are ready and you feel empowered and you feel in a better position to pursue your saving goals. Thank you for staying till the end, and yeah, hopefully this year is a better year for you with your saving goals. Do take care and bye.